You want to stand for the pledge and Russell lead us?
Sure.
Sounds like a deal.
Okay.
All righty. No.
Flag of the United
The
States
States
Of America and to
to
the
the
republic
republic
for which
for which
it
it
stands,
stands, one nation, under God,
visible
indivisible,
with liberty
liberty,
and justice for all.
Andy, where are you at? The goat on the left moved.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Mayor, tonight's local planning agency agenda has one item on it in addition to approval of minutes. The item that we have is the nursery ordinance recommendation. So just to kind of bring you back through the history of where we are and how we got to this. This had started in the comp plan board last year over a period of months. There were a number of opportunities for the community and others to provide input. There was an ordinance that was drafted that was scheduled for council consideration in December. Members of the public reached out to all of you, expressed serious concerns that they had with that ordinance. And so as a result, in December, we withdrew it from the agenda, and you all gave me the task of going through it, meeting with you all individually to see what was in the ordinance that could be saved and what needed to leave. I went through that process in December and January, came back before you in discussion format in the end of January 23rd, I believe was that meeting. And we had a discussion there where you and the public were allowed to provide some feedback. And at that point, we were getting ready to prepare it for, to bring it back for council consideration. But that's when the coronavirus hit and we put it on the shelf. We were hopeful that it would delay us for a month or two. Obviously, it's been longer than that. So given the amount of time that's elapsed, we wanted to take that off the shelf, share it with all of you to decide whether or not this is something that you want to consider or not. Jeff Kadams is on the call and certainly is prepared to address any questions that you have in it. But the ordinance as was supplied to you was designed to encapsulate and capture the feedback from the council from that meeting in January. And other than that, we're all available for questions, Mayor, and we can turn it over to the council for deliberation or questions to be answered if they have. Thank you.
Okay,
Mayor, if I can have a moment.
go right ahead.
All right. I really have to take and tell everybody that I'm not in support of this. To put more rules and regulation under the guise of being agricultural friendly is not a good thing. I feel it will work against them. And I can't support new regulations that are imposed on the agricultural community at this time. So I'm going to vote no anyway. So I think we can just put this to rest.
All right, well, if that's the case, any additional discussion on this matter is kind of dead.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Keith,
Point of order.
Hold on.
And point of order, Keith, may I ask, do I need to read?
Your sound is back there.
Breaking up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There was never a couple of things just so we're all clear. The item that is before you is on the local planning agency agenda. And while a commission agenda would require a 5-0 vote for passage, an LPA agenda is by majority vote. The charter does not say that it's a unanimous vote of the LPA. So while we all know that it would be denied at the council level, it would still warrant a motion and a vote at the LPA level, in discussion at the LPA level, and then it would go to the commission where it will be defeated based upon council member Schroeder's decision on this matter.
Thank you, Keith.
Keith, to answer my other question, will we need to read the resolution title for the LPA?
Yeah, if you could please, and then you could probably take Councilmember Schroeder's motion as a motion to deny if that's what you wanted to make, because she jumped in on that. And then you can see it have a second, if not going with a motion for approval or tabling or whatever else you all may choose to do.
Okay. Mayor, would you like me to read the item?
All right.
Or do you need a second?
Mayor, can you hear us?
Yeah, everybody's mics are gonna break it up. I don't know what the deal is. But
Yeah, it's on your end, Doug.
Yeah.
Russell, by law, it has to be read into the
Okay.
agenda anyway. So if you could please read it in, then Councilmember Schroeder can continue her statement with the motion, and then the council can decide how they wish to proceed.
Okay. And also, we never took roll call.
Oh, we jumped ahead of you.
Done. I'm going to take roll. Mayor McKay?
Here,
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Schroeder?
Here.
Councilmember Amundson?
Here.
Councilmember Hartman?
Here.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Here.
We have a quorum. I'm going to read the item into the record. It's a resolution of the local planning agency of the town of Southwest Branches, Florida, recommending that the town council adopt or not adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Land Development Code, ULDC, pertaining to certificates of use, agricultural definitions, registration and keeping of vehicles and equipment, sale and display of cottage foods, nursery locations, use of dwellings for non-residential use, and landscape maintenance businesses, and providing an effective date. Councilmember Schroeder, did you want, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Schroeder, did you want to make a motion? You had a motion that you had in mind?
Like I said, I'm not in favor of this. My motion is to deny it on my part. I've read through a lot of this, and I don't feel it's good for the agricultural community at this time. And I can't support.
Russell, oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Schroeder. Russell, based upon the resolution title, the motion should be to recommend to not adopt, which is part of the title. And then you can see if it has a second, and then you would have discussion. If not, there'd need to be another motion.
Okay.
do you want to modify it?
So D, are you who modifies it? D?
Do you
Not
wanna
adopt?
Do not adopt this motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay.
Call the question.
Don't we get any discussion?
I guess we can, but it's not gonna go anywhere, but go ahead if you
Well,
want.
yeah, it's going to go somewhere. The fact that we've asked our community to work on this for almost 2 years, and we all have had ample opportunity to provide feedback, both at the comp plan board meetings and at the January 23rd meeting. To me, it's crazy that we're going in this direction. Our community has put time into it. I think that what we're doing is wrong here. Now, if there are modifications that need to be made to it, I'm open to whatever discussion we need to have. But to throw this whole thing out after all the work that's done, that looks very bad, Dee. Your call, but that looks very bad in my view. You've wasted.
Why does this look bad if it's not good for the agricultural community at this time, Bob?
Who
That's
says
what
it's
I
not
want.
good for the
Why does it look
agricultural
bad?
community?
Did you read through the whole thing?
About 6 times in the last 3 weeks.
Okay, well, I was up to 2 o'clock in the morning reading through it again. And
When? Today?
Yes, Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you read it.
I read all the stuff they give me. I really do. I
Take your word, Dee.
hope that you're not insinuating that, we get these books and we just look at the paper and not read it, because I do read them.
Yeah, I'll take you at your
All right.
word.
All right. Nelson, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say that there are some areas of this that they make no sense. Some of them look as if they were gratuitously put in there. So because of that, I seconded Dee's motion, because we can put it off at whatever it is or whatever we just decided. But the thing is I think we need to meet collectively, maybe together at some point. Hopefully, the world will come back together again, so we can discuss one-on-one the issues that we may or may not have. If I'm wrong in interpreting something, then perhaps someone can explain, that kind of thing. I just think it takes a little more conversation between us, all of us. Maybe
All right,
eyeballing one
so
another.
basically that would be an additional workshop at a later date.
Because we
Workshop.
never really had
just
any get together. That
throwing it out
workshop
there.
never happened.
Opinions are what makes the world go
All
round.
right, do we want more discussion on this, or do we want to call this?
Bob?
Keith, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I think the intention of this wasn't to harm agriculture. The intention of this was to limit retail landscape nurseries, period. And I think that's what this does. Some other things are in there that, you know, I'm not going to say they're gratuitous, but they might need to be modified. If I vote in favor of D, I can bring this back sometime later in the year, correct?
You could bring it back next month. There's no prohibition.
But I have to vote on the side of the prevailing, right?
No, it's irrelevant.
Okay.
It's not a motion for reconsideration. It's not a quasi judicial item. It's just a straight ordinance. And under our regulations, you can ask Andy to bring it back at any time.
Good. Thank you.
All right.
Just for the record, it will have to be re-advertised and everything else, but
Oh,
you
sure,
can bring it back
sure.
whenever you want.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Call the question.
Councilmember Amundson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman,
No.
Councilmember Jablonski,
No.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Yes,
Mayor McKay.
Yes.
Motion to not adopt passes 3-2.
The travesty.
And Mayor, before you close out of the LPA, we do have approval of minutes from previous LPA meetings.
All right. So you want to give me a motion and a second for that?
Motion to approve all 5.
Second.
Okay. Any
And yes, I read them.
Any discussion on them? Any corrections on them? Hearing none, call the question.
Councilmember Amundson,
Affirmative, yes.
Councilmember Hartman,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Yes.
take it. All right.
He
We gotta
keeps
start
trying.
over.
Hey, I'm
right.
predictable.
So we got to stand for the pledge all over again.
Hey, before we move on, did we end the
Go ahead.
meeting already? Because I wanted to ask for a workshop on this to discuss this further.
Yeah, we ended that one, but you can bring that up in the next
Okay.
meeting.
Good enough.
Okay? All
Yep.
right. So if we could stand and do the pledge over, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Russell,
Of the United States of America.
thanks to
America.
America.
And to the
To
republic
the
Republic,
republic,
for which
which
it
it stands,
one
nation,
one
nation,
nation,
Under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty,
liberty
liberty,
and
and
justice
justice
for all.
Thank you.
we got now roll call.
Yes.
Mayor McKay,
Here.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Here,
Councilmember Amundson,
Here,
Councilmember Hartman,
Here.
Councilmember Jablonski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Public comment? Anybody raising their hand?
I believe I see one person raising their hands, Mayor, 2 people. First person, Steve Brightcruz. Let me just set up the timer, please. Sorry about that. Mr. Brightcruz, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Can you
great.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you. You have 3
Okay,
minutes.
great. I want to make a couple of comments. The first one is that I had the privilege to sit in on the Sunshine Ranches HOA meeting last night, and they did a great job of rallying the troops and making their voices heard that rural ranches should be the only option that we choose for that property development on that's currently CF, the New Testament property that the Toll Brothers is looking for. Completely support that, and frankly, the council should as well. The other comment that I want to make is is just the unbelievable travesty that I just witnessed during the LPA. It's unbelievable that that the council asked the comp board to look at this years ago, and they looked at it and they sent it back to the council, and the council sent it back to the comp board to look at it again, and the comp board looked at it again and sent it back to the council. And so then the council gets it again, and without any discussion, they throw the whole thing out. It's outrageous. The insult and the disregard for all the time and all the hours that the public put into this, and you all don't spend 2 minutes talking about it, considering all the effort that they put into it, all the reasons why it needs to be there to protect our town and protect our rural lifestyle, and you all won't even discuss it. You'll just toss it out. Bob, thank you for trying to get it going. Truly appreciate that. But it's disgusting that how you disregard as a council the effort and the time, hours and hours and hours and countless hours of volunteer time was spent on this, and you didn't even discuss it. You didn't even feel it was worth spending a few minutes on. I'm sorry if you had to spend a few minutes, you know, showing a little respect for the residents of your town. It's disgusting what you did, and it's embarrassing. I'm hoping that in November or December, we bring this back with a different council. Thank you very much.
All right, who's next?
Okay, Mayor, the next person is Jim Albritton. Let me just get him here for 1 second here. Okay. Mr. Albritton,
Yes.
can you hear us? Okay, great. All right, you have 3 minutes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, council, staff, thank you for having me. I was also a part of the board that helped make this ordinance come up. And I'd like to say thank you to all the other board members for all their participation. I'd like to say thank you to all the residents to give input to it. And maybe in the future, there could be a compromise where this could get passed. It was to stop the big landscape nurseries from coming in here. And it was never intended, I believe, to hurt anyone else other than these big people to come in. So I'm hoping that maybe in the future that we can take a look at that again. And also, I was in on the meeting last night with the Homeowners Association from Sunshine Ranches, and they are doing a great job also, like Steve said, to keep our town rural, to keep the zoning the way it should be, and to keep the big people out. So I thank you for your time. I'd like for all those participating or listening to vote for me in November, and have a good evening. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albritton. The next speaker, Mayor, is David Krasinski. David, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you. You have 3
All right.
minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. David Kaczynski, President of Sunshine Ranches Homeowners Association. I'm speaking to you in that capacity. First, I want to say an apology to Andy as the initial notice for the meeting at the Equestrian Park could have been better stated. That when I stated that the town wouldn't allow us to have the meeting at the town hall. I could have phrased it better. It was actually conditioned upon the Broward County mayor's COVID order. And I understand that the town has an interest to protect the health of the employees of the town. All right, now last night we had our HOA meeting. We had anywhere, I think at one point I saw 29 attendees. And we did verify that there was a quorum present of paid members. So we did have our quorum, and a motion was made by Rosemarie Tarlone, seconded by Nicole Chung, that there be no development on Hancock or Griffin, and if it is, unless it's designated as rural ranches only. That motion passed unanimously. During the conversation, I was provided with an article from The Real Deal. It's a real estate promotional website in South Florida. And it was an article about Akai Estate, which is a similar sized 44-acre community where in Southwest Ranches at Griffin Road and Bonaventure Boulevard, where the developer is building 16 homes, each on a 2-acre lot. And my understanding is that all of those residences have sold. So where this, the representative of the Toll Brothers, Ms. Hope Calhoun, stated in her teleconference, her Zoom conference, that there was no market for homes on 2-acre plots, that just for probably a lack of better word would be, it holds no water. Because we just got the proof right here in this article that came out on the 27th, a couple of days ago, that says they're sold out. So I think that if they try hard, they can put something together. I hope that whatever goes in there, they do take into consideration the Indian burial ground that was found there. And so that just kind of wraps up the comments about our meeting last night. And while I was out over the weekend talking with neighbors, I did learn about it, and it is published on the town website, of the strangles virus that's going around among the equestrian community. I think that maybe the town could do something about promoting that at each of the documented ranches. So all the equestrian community is clear about how easily transmittable this is. I was told that it can actually be transmitted if bacteria attaches to the tires of a truck and then goes to another ranch, that it can be transmitted that easily. So it's something that's a big concern for our town. I guess that kind of wraps up my public comment. Oh yeah, I did. I think that this nursery ordinance, I think the triggering event for this was the building of that nursery, conversion of the home to a nursery at 133rd, right next door to Town Hall. And just to throw it out is just kicking mud in the face of those neighbors, because they came into our the town hall and they were complaining about it, and now it's nothing at this moment. So that concludes my comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kaczynski. All right, Mayor. The next speaker, let's see, is Debbie Green. Debbie, can you hear us? Debbie, can you hear us? Debbie Green, can you hear us?
Here she comes.
There you go. Hello?
Hello?
You hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. You have 3 minutes.
Just letting me unmute myself.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to reiterate Steve's comments. Everyone that talked before me now, to reiterate everyone, I think it's just what was done here in the LPA meeting is just making a mockery of all the hard work that the council staff, that all the town volunteers on the advisory boards and all the residents that have put so much time into this over the past couple years, where the whole, it all came from the right place and protecting the residents and their properties from retail being able to just show up next door, kind of like what happened at Town Hall. I think this was the place to have some discussion. When you say you'd like to have discussion, well, you haven't discussed it in a group. Well, this is the place. You can't discuss it on your own. You need to discuss it in this group. And That's pretty much it. I just think it's horrific the way that this meeting started tonight. It's kind of embarrassing to say this is my town council's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Okay. We have no other speakers waiting to speak, Mayor.
All right, we're going to council member comments.
I'll go first.
Right ahead,
Oh,
Gary.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I did miss one person. Looks like I apologize.
Okay, go ahead.
Fred Cox is on the line wishing to speak.
All right.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, sir. Actually, it's for David. I'm concerned that he may have misinterpreted something. The Toll Brothers project of 2 acres in Rolling Oaks is completely sold out. The IKEA project, also known as the Terra, T-A-R-A project, I don't believe opens until a couple of months. I'm not trying to contradict him. I just want to be sure that you know, we're stating facts.
Okay.
So the Toll Brothers project in Rolling Oaks and 2 acres is completely sold out. The new project, I do not believe is open for orders yet. And David, if I'm incorrect, if they allow you to speak up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Okay.
All right, back to council. Gary?
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thanks for everybody who's tuned in. You know, these are trying times. We've got a storm coming. Hopefully it's a swing and a miss at us. You know, we've got the COVID pandemic at the same time, and, you know, we're just, you know, piling stuff on. Just want to make a mention of a couple things here quickly. I won't take up everybody's time. We have a photo contest and the theme is farms and barns. This replaces the one that, since we didn't have the, due to the pandemic, we didn't have the picnic at the barn. The photo contest is for the calendar and it needs to be submitted by the 7th of September. And then I just want to make mention too that we have hazmat at the park on the 12th of September at the barn again, and there will be shredding there and prescription drug drop off and the whatnot. So it'd be a good time to you know, to utilize that. And Mayor, if you would indulge me, I have something that I would like to put before the council. It deals with Miss Sullivan, Madison Sullivan. She has a presentation that she's been working on for a few weeks and for the council regarding the upcoming elections. And Mayor, if I may, could I yield some of my time for Miss Sullivan and her presentation?
Yeah, not a problem. I don't think that's fine.
Okay. Madison, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Madison. You're the floor is yours.
Okay, should I turn my camera on? Is that okay?
Can if you like.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi there. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Okay, you've got the floor.
Okay, so hi, I'm Madison Sullivan, as most of you guys know, and I have an ongoing project with my high school, West Broward, and basically I'm closing the generational gap between older and younger people. So I'm very interested in the upcoming election, and I put together a little PowerPoint for a Meet the Candidates project I want to do. I think I gave the PowerPoint to Mr. Russell.
I have it here. There you go.
Okay, yes, that's it. Okay. Okay, there we go. So the importance of the meet and greet I want to do. So with everything going on in today's society, it's very important to maintain a relationship with the people, obviously. So using Zoom, what we're on right now, I want to host a live event for the candidates so they can answer questions submitted by the people who are voting for them. Having the townspeople attend this meeting will bring comfort and clarity to whom they shall cast their vote for. But this is not a debate. So what is Zoom? Everyone here obviously knows what Zoom is because that's what we're using right now. It's a computer program to basically speak face-to-face without being face-to-face, so it's safer. Next slide, please. Okay, so how will the questions be presented? I put together an email, swrmaddie@gmail.com, which I will put in the flyer if this gets approved. And people will submit their questions to this email, and I'll put them together, and I'll ask the candidates the questions myself, so it's not a whole bunch of random people asking them and everyone talking. So the only people that will be talking is me and the candidate that will be on the screen. Next slide, please. What will the meeting be like? The meeting will be really similar to what we're doing right now, a town council meeting, but I would like just the person talking and me to be shown, and everyone else will be muted. I'm doing the email so people could submit the questions to the email. So like I said before, it's not a whole bunch of people talking, and it will be more organized and will go by faster since they're going to be answering so many questions. Next slide, please. So there's not many rules. Each candidate has 2 minutes to answer the question, and if needed, we could extend it a little bit, but I figured I'd say 2 minutes because that will make it go by faster, so it's not like 2 hours of your time. And I will let you know when there's 30 seconds remaining. And again, this is not a debate, it's just answering questions, so the voters will know more about you. And I was just wondering if I could have this. I feel like it'd be a great thing so candidates can introduce themselves, because I know not everyone knows the candidates as closely as some other people.
When are you looking to do this?
I have it on the first slide. I'm pretty sure it's September. I'm sorry. September 14th.
Okay. All right. How are my colleagues? What's everybody think about this?
I like the idea. I think it
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
Madison, just real quick, you may want to check to see when early voting starts and try to target this for just before early voting, because I have a feeling a lot of people are, or I should say mail-in ballots. I'll email you the date if you want.
Okay.
That way everybody gets to hear before they submit their votes, either by mail or early or in person on election day.
Okay, got it. I think I might have checked on that, but I'm not sure, so thank you.
Okay, I've got it, so I'll pass it along. Great idea, though. I love it.
Thank you.
Another Madison award-winning idea, right?
It's the September 14th is of our first public hearing date. We have a conflict there. I just want to make you all aware.
Thanks for the heads
we'll need
up,
some
Russ.
other dates, please.
Marty.
Okay.
Thanks for the heads up, Marty.
Yeah, thank you. Madison, we don't expect you to come up with a date right now. Is this something we want to get back to within the next day or so? Yeah, get back with Andy on that. I believe the approval you're looking for, you just got.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
we need to pick a new date between that, and I think early voting starts later on in the month. I have the date somewhere. You and
It's actually mail-in, Gary.
Yeah, mail-in, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay,
All right,
thank you so
Madison,
much.
thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome,
thank you, Madison.
Bye. Who is that?
That wasn't too painful.
No.
Gary, you still up?
I think I've done enough damage for one day. I'm fine. No, everything's
Awesome.
fine. Everything's good, you know.
Awesome. Who'd like to go next?
I have a couple things I want to
Go
say.
ahead.
First of all, I'd like to
Madison.
answer people who are so upset over the initial rejection or whatever, putting off of the ordinance, because there are some things in there that would affect, I think, in a detrimental way, the equestrian community. That was my objection, and I'm sure that it can be overcome, but it needs to be overcome. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, if I'm looking down, is because I want to read what I'm going to say. There's a timeline attached to this. Last Saturday, which was the 25th, I was on my way to Boca Raton to show property, and it was in the morning. I was in a thunderstorm on the way up there, but I started getting a couple phone calls, and when I answered, I was being asked if I had received any emails. Let people know, no, I'm in the car, I'm driving, that's how you're getting me. But when I got home, I was not copied in on any of these emails, but I want to bring them to the attention of everyone in the town that didn't get these emails, because I understand they went out to quite a few people. And I'm going to give you a timeline. It had to do with our fire rescue department and Chief Bennett and the hardworking paramedics and firefighters in this town who give of their time. They do 24-hour shifts on, and then they are there when they're not, they don't have to be, and they're training. They train more than any other entity around, and they are a great group of men and women, and they love this town, even though a lot of them don't live here. They may live much further south, but they are volunteers. And it turns out, and I want to say that at 10:19 in the morning, John Eastman sent an email to Andy Burns, our town administrator, and it said the following: Andy, I was northbound on I-75 at 9:40 on 725, and that was 9:40 in the morning. There was a truck that had struck the beginning of the guardrail at the Sheridan Street exit. Southwest Ranches Fire Department number 82 was on scene. The accident was outside the zone for 82 and in Pembroke Pines. Why was our equipment sent to this accident? This is not the first time I have witnessed this. Please let me know why they were working a scene in the Pines. There were no Pines fire on scene. Thanks, John. The second email, also from John Eastman, was at 10:28 a.m. It was to the fire chief, Chief Lee Bennett, and it said, Lee, are you aware 82 was working an accident off I-75 this morning in Pembroke Pines? This is not the first time. The Pines has double the fire protection they need and can afford to clean up accidents in their own town. Those responsible for this should be removed from the management positions. That was sent to Andy Burns, who asked the fire chief, he said, at 10:31 a.m., Lee, please let me know what the story is on this. And he copied the chief in, and the chief responded at 11:28 a.m. Andy, I talked with the on-duty Southwest Ranches Captain Jenna Anderson at 10:21 hours today. Engine 82 crew was not dispatched to a vehicle accident on I-75 and Sheridan Street. In fact, they have been training with Davie Fire Department since 9:30 hours this morning. I was at the event as well. John Eastman and Barry Nunzig have been reporting false information about me and the Southwest Ranches Fire Department for the last 11 years I've been chief of Southwest Ranches. One would think, as residents, they would be proud of Southwest Ranches Fire Chief, Mayor, Council, City Manager, and staff for seeing the need for our department. Furthermore, we have several off-duty firefighters at this driver-engineer training on their own time, sweating profusely, and on a Saturday. They could be home, enjoying the weekend, and their families. The personal attacks on Southwest Ranches Fire Rescue Department and myself by these two individuals needs to stop. Fire Chief Lee Bennett, signed. Now, after that, at 11:51, Barry Nunzig sent this to the chief. Hi, Lee. Why are the volunteers on I-75 at Sheridan Street? I thought it was necessary to have them out west. They abandoned their assigned district and they left the town. Is someone getting fired? Signed, Barry Nunzig. This is a timeline beginning at 10 and change in the morning and ending just before noon, the same day, last Saturday. My son Matthew, which is I think the reason I did not get any of these emails, is a lieutenant with Southwest Ranches Fire Rescue. He's also a training officer. He was on duty on Friday, 24-hour shift, came home, changed his clothes. I had already left, but he came home after a 24-hour shift, changed his clothes, and went to train driver engineers. Now, this is not getting behind the wheel and driving. This has to do with every single bell and whistle on that machine. Pounds per square inch of water, I don't know. I'm just a mother, okay? But he was at that training from 9 o'clock in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. Our truck was nowhere near this made up email from Nunzig and Eastman. I don't know why they're slandering really good people. Maybe I get excited because I'm the mother of 2 firefighters who give of their time. And I want this to stop. I know this went out to a lot of people in the ranches, but what I bet didn't go out was the chief's response. So enough is enough. And also to Sunshine Ranches, you didn't invite me to your meeting the other day. Maybe we could have talked. Anyway, that's what I have to say. I'm irritated that people would falsify this kind of stuff and slander really good kids that are well trained. So that's what I had to say. And I think apologies are owed by Mr. Nunzig and Mr. Eastman. Thank you.
Okay. Who'd like to go next?
I will.
Go ahead, Dee.
I just want to say what you said was a whole mouthful, Delsa, and I have to agree with you wholeheartedly. I wanted to point out to everybody that I do take the time to read all this, Bob. Honestly, I do. It's so important to the whole entire town that we research, we vet, we do whatever we can to make sure that we come to good decisions. I don't think in my close to 30 years of living out here, I've ever done anything that was shameful or disgusting in any way, shape, or form to the town. It's always been to fight for the town and everything. I don't want the town to think that I don't make good, clear decisions. I'm tired of the town making rules that impact the ag community, okay? You can't pick and choose. I would never approve this until the ag community is all in agreement, completely. That also includes the nurseries. I've said it before and I'll say it again, whether you're 2 months or 20 years, everybody has rights. You cannot pick and choose who gets to do what. I stand by my decision. I think it was a good decision. And I'm not going to change it until we can come up with something better. I don't oppose having a workshop, Bob brought up. And I'm glad I've got to speak to all the residents I have throughout this whole entire town. There is an election coming up in November. Doug McKay, myself, and Delsa are also running. It's not just Steve and Jim and Barry or whatever, it's all of us. And I can honestly say that you all put in agreement Delsa on this council. I agreed that if you all came to an agreement, I would do it. I wanted the people to vote for that. I think she's done an astute job for the short time that she's been here. I have no complaints about it. We don't always agree on everything. And the things we do agree on is because of the research and the work and the efforts that we've put into it. I don't always disagree with Bob, and I don't always disagree with Gary. They come up with some great ideas. Bob, you're a very knowledgeable person, and I have a great deal of respect for that. Gary also. I've known you guys too long, way over 20 years. And I just want you to know that I take my job seriously, and I hope you, somewhere down the line, know that I take my job seriously. Thank you. That's it.
So Doug, I'll go next.
Go right ahead.
So Dee, I didn't accuse you of not reading. I mean, you make comments all the time that indicate that you're reading the documentation, the ordinances, everything the resolutions, everything we need to do. But I have to beg to differ with you on one thing. You can't have it both ways. You're the person who has complained for years about ag exemption. Ag exemption is all the commercial agricultural organizations within our town. If you say that you're for ag, then I'm not sure why you complain and talk about it. You did it last year, talk about how we shouldn't have an ag exemption in town. So it's one or the other. And then the other thing that baffles me about this whole situation is it's people in your district right next to town hall that are completely freaked out about the landscape nursery that's built right next to town hall. They were at most of the meetings. How do you think they're going to feel? What do you think they're going to say when they hear that Dee Schroeder put the kibosh on the whole thing? So just my thoughts. I don't have anything else, Doug.
Okay.
Well, I want to comment on that.
Well, is this a debate?
No, but we're allowed to share conversation.
Well, that's what we're here for, aren't we? To, you know.
It's the only
kind of
time
sort
we're
things
allowed to
out.
have conversations like
Well, okay. Go for it, Dee.
You know, there's just, I don't know what it is. I can't quite figure it out. And it's not the fact that I don't respect you, and I'm sure you do respect me.
Sure.
I know you do. We've been friends for a long time, and we have to work together, but everybody's entitled to an opinion. As far as the ag exempt, anybody with a fake ag exempt, no, I'm not in favor of it. There's true agriculture out here. People that are actually producing, people that have nurseries and stuff like that. I'm not against that. I moved out here like everybody else. I moved out here for one reason and one reason only: to be left alone, not to have 50 million rules, to be able to have some space, to be able to live the way I wanted to live. Not just equestrian, not just nursery, not just whatever, the way I want to live. And everybody should be respected for that. Everybody has rights. And I don't think we're the people that should sit up here and pick and choose who has the right to do this.
That's why you're elected, though. You represent the people. You
Okay.
represent the whole town, not just your district, the whole town.
The
And that's
whole
why
entire town, exactly.
we can't put everything out on referendum like we did 2 years ago on the 5-0 vote and stopping the properties from being sold around town. That's not the way a representative government works. So you can't,
Well, our government's working just wonderful, isn't it? Look at the mess we're in today with all of our governments.
let's talk about us.
Yeah, let's talk about us.
You
Can I
know,
All right, you
jump in
guys
here for a
good?
minute?
let me just say one little thing.
Go ahead.
This thing that we put off right now, I wasn't part of it for the last however many years. Everybody's been writing things, but there are things in here that made no sense to me. Even the sentences don't make sense, and I don't know what prompted some of these changes. What in the community made a new sentence appear? And I think that is worth discussing. If this is a great thing to have, it should be made even better. And maybe by making it littler, less. You know, I'm just saying it doesn't have to be 6,000 pages and words. There are people, according to a couple things I read, and I think, Bob, when you do make your motion to bring this back, and it can be as soon as possible, it'll give us all a chance to voice our opinion on certain things, and who knows, you may be able to convince me that I'm wrong, or I might be able to convince you that, oh, wait, maybe Delsa, I didn't even think of that. So I'm just saying, let's just calm it down, reread it, because just because someone worked on it for 96 years doesn't mean it's a good product. And if we are the council, we need to make sure that we are doing for this town what the town needs, not what certain individuals in the town want. This is for the town. And I take that seriously. So that was my issue with this. And that's all.
Okay. All right.
Can I
So
jump in, Mayor?
go right ahead, Gary.
Thank you very much. Everybody seems to be okay with having a workshop on this. Do we need a motion for that, or do we just need to nod our heads, or?
Well, I want to make a statement related to that if I can join in on that. And I'm in.
Well, go ahead. I mean, I just don't want to leave this council member comments without some sort of a path
Right.
ahead.
Probably Keith can answer it maybe at the bit in a minute.
Yeah, just what I'll let Keith jump in, but I just want to say one thing related to it. You know, I'm in full support of doing an additional workshop, but the other thing I want to say, I would want to make sure that all the impacted parties are present when we're making these new regulations. I know we've done it in the past and some of them have showed up and whatnot, but I would like to make sure that they're included. I know we've beat a dead horse on this for a long time, but truthfully, I'm just also a little shocked that Steve would want to put additional regulations on the agricultural community. But that's just my comment on it. So go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, I mean, Mayor, you could do it either way, either having a motion or not. As mayor, you can call a workshop anytime. Andy could call a workshop anytime. I believe Andy hears the consensus that there should be a workshop called with all interested parties to be present. And as such, I'm sure he will proceed with the workshop.
All right. So we're giving Andy direction to schedule a workshop. Does that work for everybody?
Works for me.
Please.
Okay.
Works for me.
Andy, when you get around to it, if you
I got it. Thank you.
tune that up.
Schedule people in the building. Thank you.
Hey, Doug, if I could interject real
Go
quick.
ahead.
I'm just looking at the list of participants, and I see a couple of people that have their hands raised, and I don't know if they were during public comment or if they still want to talk or anything.
Yeah, I think they want to jump in on our council member comments and what we've talked about, and we don't normally do that. So I don't
Okay,
want
I wasn't sure how long it was.
I don't want to stray from that, you know, if you know
I
what
understand.
mean.
We
So,
have our protocols. I get that.
yeah.
I just wanted to bring that up. So.
Okay. Appreciate it. All right. Well, I'm done with my comments on that, and we will move on. We got legal comments.
Sure, Mayor. Just real briefly, I sent you all an email yesterday that the governor extended the ability to have virtual meetings through August 31st. Budget meetings are 100% allowed to be virtual. it's probable that it'll be continued beyond that time frame, but right now it is approved through August 31st. So I assume that's the way that Andy will proceed, but I'll let him chime in on that. But just letting the public know that it will be virtual for the present time, you know, as a result of COVID. Everyone be careful with the storm approaching this week. You know, we spoke right before the meeting started, but I know my family has 5 horses, and I was mentioning to Councilmember Jablonski that we put sort of name tags, luggage tags on their halters just in case. This doesn't look like a major storm, but it's always good to mark your animals anyway in case they get out and someone happens to find them. Finally, you all are aware that we are in litigation with a resident out west in regards to an illegal use of their property. An attorney who's also a resident, Stephanie K. Wayne, has filed a notice of appearance of representation of that individual, and as a result, she has started to do a Facebook campaign to try to litigate this over social media rather than the courthouse. We'll deal with it accordingly, but I just want to give everyone a heads up that if you hear about it or hear about records requests and things of that nature, that is all relating to a paid client and litigation involving the town. So just wanted to make sure everyone was clear on that. Other than that, no further legal comments, Mayor.
All right. Andy Burns.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief tonight. First of all, I wanted to welcome Emily back. We missed her while she was out for 3 months, but she has a beautiful new daughter to show for it. And I wanted to thank Rod for his efforts in keeping his department above water with one of his most valuable players out on leave. So the town weathered the storm, but we're very lucky, very happy to have her back. Second, I wanted to touch on the COVID numbers in town and just give you 3 weeks worth to show you how things have changed in Southwest Ranches. On July 1st, we had 22 cases in town. On July 15th, we were up to 69. When I checked the numbers this morning, we're at 132. So the numbers in the county and in the state continue on the upswing. Russell's been working very hard on some testing that we want to allow for the residents. And Mayor, I'd like to turn it over to him so he can tell you about what we're trying to set up for our residents.
Great. Appreciate it. Russell, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Andy, for the introduction. The town obviously is facing this pandemic just like everybody else throughout the country, throughout the world is. And we wanted to just make an opportunity here to have our residents have access to testing without some of the entanglements that you might have going to some of the other testing sites. You've seen the lines on TV, some of the crazy, wait times and everything else. We were approached by a firm known as Physicians Stat Labs. They are a laboratory testing site, kind of like a Quest Diagnostics that actually performs the COVID testing. They approached us about partnering with the town and providing a facility where they could have a testing event for town residents. And so we've identified a location, identified some dates, and we're going to start a campaign to promote this event for town residents. And we've identified Thursday, August 13th, Friday, August 14th, and Saturday, August 15th as the dates that we're going to have this 3-day event occur. The event will take place at Rolling Oaks Park. This will be a drive-through testing. It will not be within the facility. We're very sensitive to exposing our facility to any possible, contamination, if you will. So we want to keep this a drive-through type of testing, so people will drive through, get tested, and drive out of the park. We will have Davie Police maintaining traffic control. It will be a pre-registered event, so we have a certain number of people that will be seen on a daily basis, a maximum of 200 people per day. They will have to be pre-registered. There will be no cost to the individual getting tested. There will be billed to their insurance. If they don't have insurance, and if it's bona fide, I believe the state or the federal government picks up the tab, and there will be no cost passed on to the individual person receiving the testing. I'm told that the testing will have a 48 to 72 hour turnaround time for the results. so the results will be issued pretty quickly. And our goal is to, reach out, provide a service to our residents so they don't have to go to some of the larger testing facilities in the county and be exposed to those wait times and those, very lengthy wait times for results.
All right. That sounds
Great
great.
idea.
Now they'll just go to the town's website and tap a button to register, or how's that going to be set
No,
up?
we're going to be starting our media campaign tomorrow, and it will continue throughout the week until we arrive at the week of. The company performing the testing will has provided a phone number for scheduling. I can give it out right now, but I don't know that it's actually live right now, but I'll give the number anyway. It's 407-906-8640. And we encourage everybody to call that number. Again, it's 407-906-8640 to begin scheduling for testing. Again, there's only 200 spots designated per day. We don't want just people just driving up unannounced. We want to try to manage this as best we can. And I'm confident that we'll be able to provide a service that's so sorely needed in our community.
All right.
Thank
you for the information. Greatly appreciated.
Doug, can I chime in, Mayor?
Go right ahead.
Yeah, should we be sending out an email blast and Facebook and
we're going to be,
Twitter
yes,
and all our town social media resources?
Absolutely, Councilmember. Thanks for the question. We will be doing a full media blitz on this and trying to get the word out. Our goal is to have every single spot booked up, all 200 spots each day. So the way that we envision doing that is by putting it on Facebook, putting it on Twitter. Unfortunately, we missed the deadline for the newsletter. But being able to put it on Facebook, Twitter, we'll do a constant contact. We'll also do one of those reverse 911 calls that we have available to us through Code Red.
Great idea. Well, let me ask the question. What if we exceed the 200 per day? Will we be able to continue or schedule another week or anything like that?
Depending upon the success of this event, if it's highly successful and the demand is there for additional testing, that is something that we can go back to Physician Stat Lab and ask them to schedule at another time. But they don't feel comfortable doing more, than 200 per day, and we want to kind of start this, if you will, if it has to be a pilot, and just do this for the first 3 days, and if there's such demand, do it again sometime in the future.
Okay. Thank you.
I just had a question, Russ. Do
Sure.
they prefer that if you have an issue that you come for testing, or do they just want people that don't even have symptoms come for testing? I mean,
I think their preference is for excuse me, anyone who desires testing, whether you have symptoms or not, because as I've come to find out, COVID-19, you can be asymptomatic and still have the disease, the virus. So I think the most important thing is for people to get tested. I think that's been documented. That's the best thing to do, is get tested, because then if you don't have it, great, you don't have it. But if you have it, you can quarantine and keep it from giving it to other people. So they just want to encourage as many people to come out as possible and get tested.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome. All right. If you would read ordinance number 8, please.
Hey, Doug, before we move on, I just wanted to clarify something real quick.
Go ahead.
Concerning the workshop we were discussing earlier, you said you wanted everybody to be present. Is Zoom a reasonable way for us to meet at some point?
I would think so.
Okay. Well, you said you wanted everybody participating. Actually,
the people affected mostly is what I said. The
right.
People this is going to affect.
Right. But you said you wanted all parties present, and I don't see present as practical right now.
Well, I meant through Zoom. Yeah.
Participating, that's fine. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Point of order on number 8, the ordinance, the first reading. That was defeated in the LPA hearing. So
right.
question for the town attorney. I don't know if we want to read it in the record or if it would be proper to just withdraw the item. What would be the best way for us to proceed?
It's on the agenda, so although you have the absolute right to pull it, you can bring it up, read it by title if you desire. It's up to you.
I make the motion to pull it.
Second.
Okay. There you go. Motion is second. Call the question.
Councilmember Amundson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder. Vice Mayor Schroeder,
She's muted. You're muted. D, you're
Yes.
muted. There
Yes.
you go.
yes, got it, thank you. And Mayor McKay.
Yes.
Okay, so the item is withdrawn.
Okay. Number 9.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
before Russell starts on number 9.
Sure.
Items 9, 10, and 11 are the next step in the budget process. The town financial administrator has a PowerPoint to run through for you. This is part of our TRIM compliance, truth and millage. And what these resolutions do tonight, we set the maximum, the ceiling, but not the floor, for
Right.
the millage rate, the fire assessment fee, and the solid waste fee. And Marty is going to go through a presentation for you. And Marty, do you prefer to read all 3 into the record, or do you want to do them one at a time?
Yes, thank you, Andy. I'd like to read all 3 in. We'll cover the non-ad valorem first. I want to introduce and let the council, mayor and vice mayor, that we have our consultant on board, Chris Wallace. We have Rich Strum, the controller, and we also have Vanessa, who I want to thank tonight for assisting us with the PowerPoint. So let's read all the 9, 10, and 11. Then we'll move into the non-ad valorem discussion, and then we'll move to the millage component.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Russell, you're up.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. Number 9 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, setting the proposed millage rate and current rollback rate pursuant to Section 200.065 Florida statutes, and establishing the date, time, and place at which public hearings will be held to consider the proposed millage rate and the tentative budget for fiscal year 2021, and directing the town clerk to file said resolution with the property appraiser of Broward County pursuant to the requirements of Florida statutes and the rules and regulations of the Department of Revenue for the state of Florida. Directing that a certified copy of this resolution be sent to the Broward County property appraiser and tax collector, and providing an effective date. That's item 9. Item 10 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, relating to the provision of solid waste services, facilities, and programs to residential properties in the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, providing authority for solid waste services, assessments, providing purpose and definitions, providing findings, incorporating the solid waste special assessment methodology report, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, providing for a 50% exemption for veterans, service-connected, total and permanent disability, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing an effective date. That's item 10. Item 11 is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, providing findings, amending in part Resolution 2011-084 by providing a new Section 3 purpose and definitions, incorporating the 2020 Fire Protection Assessment Report, approving preliminary fire services assessment rates relating to the provision of fire protection services, facilities, and programs in the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida for fiscal year 2020 through 2021, providing for the imposition and computation of fire protection assessments, providing for an exemption for veterans with service-connected total and permanent disability, providing for legislative determinations of special benefit and fair apportionment, establishing the preliminary rates of assessment, directing the preparation of a preliminary assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing, and directing the provision of a mailed and published notice thereof, and providing an effective date. That was item 11.
Okay,
Okay,
Marty.
wonderful. Thank you, Town Clerk. Let's move into the PowerPoint before you go directly in there. For the public, our budget book has been issued back on July 14th. Let's get this right here. That is a record number of pages, 190 pages. And the PowerPoint, which is less than 20 pages, tonight will cover all areas in summary format. Do you have the screen up, Perfect, Russell. Okay, screen share. How's everybody viewing it? We're good. All right, this is our introduction tonight. As Town Administrator Andy Burns indicated, it is our initial proposed rates, not to exceed rates. We have a proposed operating millage rate of 4.2125. Our proposed TISDOR millage, we're approaching our 7th fiscal year of the TISDOR. That is 0 across the boards, and the next pages will explain the reason for the 0. We have initial fire assessment proposed with a rate change depending on the property categories. And finally, we'll be covering the initial solid waste assessments, which we are proposing no changes to all rates for all parcels. First, as an introduction, we'll go into the budget process, calendar events. I want to thank you, Keith, getting the emergency order to us. All these items will be handled virtually. We have permission from the governor's office now on emergency order. Tonight is our preliminary millage and initial fire solid waste assessment adoption. On August 18th, we're planning on a proposed budget workshop at 7 p.m. On Monday, September 14th at 6 p.m., it's a little earlier start than normal. We cover our first public hearing for tentative millage and budget adoption, and then we cover the final fire protection and solid waste special assessment adoption. We do a little advertising for the final hearing between September 19th through the 22nd, and then our final public hearing for millage and adoption is on Thursday, September 24th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Prior to our regular council meeting. Now we move to the summary PowerPoint slide. Gives you a recap of next year as it relates to the current year. Left side, you'll have your adopted fiscal year 2020 rate. And we're segregating and keeping everything transparent between our operating and TISDOR components. On the right is our proposed 2021 rate fees. You will see, I'll concentrate on the right. Operating millage is 4.2125 mils, our TISDOR 0, total 4.2125, and that results in a net decrease of 0.4439, simple arithmetic, of the 4.2125 minus the 4.6564 from the previous year to equal 5.46 lower than the rollback rate. Yes, we are proposing a tax decrease within the town of Southwest Ranches. We are proud to offer that to all taxpayers. Our fire assessment, we have a new methodology study in place. It's $105.63 increase as it pertains to the residential dwelling units, and then a solid waste, no change throughout all residential parcel sizes for fiscal year 2021. Next slide, please. Just covering now, we got it divided into 3 areas. Going into the millage component, I've had this slide. We use it every year to give those people who are watching for the first time, to give them a introduction as to the ad valorem property tax process. Ultimately, you have the assessed valuations all determined by your property appraiser's office downtown with Broward County. You apply your exemptions, those are subtractions, leaves you with a taxable value. You take your taxable value times the millage we're going to set tonight, which is our taxable rate, and that is your tax levy for the town of Southwest Ranches portion. Next slide, please. Now, how we get to a tax decrease for our millage. Our first, we have a couple pages to explain to you all. First is our TISDOR. Our TISDOR is now eligible for Mobility Advancement Program funding. That's formally known as the Transportation Surtax. You will all be hearing the term mobility advancement or MAP. They've changed the name from transportation surtax. So that is our new penny surtax program, which the municipalities receive 1/10 of 1 penny. This amounts to millions and millions of dollars. So we will be receiving that over the next 30 years with this surtax program, and that allows funding to alternative funding, strictly not requiring millage for forthcoming fiscal year. Big reason for the decrease. Number 2 is we listen to council, your staff and management. Our current economic environment due to COVID-19 pandemic supports a reduced millage below the rollback rate. And in later sessions, we'll of course, you remember, we see comparison of our rates as compared to the other municipal rates. So that will be forthcoming. Number 3 is our growth in our net new taxable value. We've had 32 million, of which 33% of the 6.58% of the total townwide growth is a new Town of Southwest Ranches record. Number 4, we are fortunate to have lower debt interest expense due to FEMA and FDEM, that's Federal Emergency Management Association, Florida Department of Emergency Management, reimbursement for both Hurricanes Irma and Dorian, allowing us to fully pay off our existing emergency line of credit, allowing us to have 0 emergency line of credit interest set aside. Next slide, please.
Marty, before you move on, can I ask you a question about the first one?
Yes, yes.
So I'm trying to understand this. So based on the penny sales tax that passed last year at the county level, we've been able to go ahead and obtain some money from the county. We were awarded money from the county to cover our Tisdor project. So this year, there's no funding requirement from the residents to pay for Tisdor because they're already paying for it through the penny sales tax. Is that right?
Correct, correct. We've been fortunate on round 1. We've gotten awards as well as design, studies, engineering. The money's forthcoming. That will be available to us. This program's fully eligible for the MAP funding, and we no longer require for the forthcoming this year. It doesn't prevent you from doing extra if you should choose, but correct, this is fully eligible for MAP funding moving forward.
So congratulations to you, Andy, Rod, Emily, and the rest of the team that worked on this. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, true. Not all of the awards and submissions were granted. We were fortunate to have next year funding available to us. Okay, number 5. We have a newly adopted fire assessment methodology study reducing the allocable cost impact to the general fund, a shifting of dollars from the general fund to the fire assessment is number 5. 6 is our quality of life, level of service improvements. Our millage fund program mods are less in number and dollar scope, and we'll go into details and we'll show you where our service improvements are and what is funded by millage and what isn't funded. And the last item was the program mods, same with the program mods. So we're going into program mods funded. You will see we have website redesign, ADA compliance. We're proposing the council chambers camera of $20,000. Our townwide vehicle replacement program, year 2, $17,500. Our town hall exterior repainting project, $17,000. We postponed. We are funding our Southwest Ranches 20th anniversary celebration. And we also have parks maintenance and exterior building painting and improvements through the pros department, $14,670. And also our comprehensive plan update, data inventory and analysis, that's $10,000 through our planning department. We also are, it's 12 in total. Our school zone flashing beacon replacement is a $9,000 funding. Now we're moving to our volunteer fire department safety equipment. Now these have no millage impact. They do have fire assessment impact. The apparatus replacement program, $39,000. Our fire AED replacement program of $12,000. Our fire hose replacement program of $5,400, and our bunker gear replacement program of $2,808. Moving to our capital projects. Keep going. Thank you, Russell. Here's our 7 capital improvement projects funded. The fire wells replacement and installation, there'll be no millage impact. Our fire safety modular protective awnings, no millage impact. Our progress on our Frontier Trails conservation area will have no millage impact. The town hall complex safety drainage and mitigation improvements, no millage impact. And moving towards our transportation fund projects, you will see we segregated properly for regulatory purposes. Our drainage improvements are kept separate with our drainage improvements surtax projects. And this council member Hartman is surtax will be also MAP funded and will have no millage impact. So here's another area where the engineering, Rod and Emily, have been able to obtain approval for surtax funding. And finally, we got our pavement striping and marking program. Here we go into our proposed maximums from this year, going back to votes required 3, 4, and 5. Where it's highlighted in orange, you will see the 4.2125 resulting in a $659,676 net revenue change from the prior year adopted level, and it will result in a $61 decrease per each 250,000 of taxable value. Next slide, please. Now the combined rate impacts. The total proposed rate for operating Tisdale at the 4.2125 represents previously mentioned 4.439 and a $61 decrease per 250,000 taxable value, which covers funding for some new and ongoing program mods and capital improvement projects. However, property owners without a change in net taxable value will receive a real cash reduction of 9.53% in their tax bill for next year as compared to the current year. Our residential fire rates, the proposed rate results in $105.63 increase per residential dwelling unit, and our solid waste rates have proposed no changes in total rates to all residential parcel lot sizes. Moving to the fire assessment component, mentions about a Florida statute. I won't read that word for word. We have an ordinance in place going back to 2001. We must set the rate. The new resolution, which occurred at our last meeting, July 9th, adopted a new fire methodology. We have 11 homesteaded properties that are eligible for total and permanent connected disabled U.S. veterans. No change from the prior year. We have the same 11 next year as we did in the current year. The total impact is $6,921. And we need a resolution tonight to comply with Florida statutes and truth and millage requirements. We have our graph by the categories. This will show you the total of all 5 categories. Our top one provides a 3-year history, proposed fiscal year 2021, off to the right, left to right. You'll see the increase from 523.51 to 629.14. From the residential is the light brown. You have a green on the bottom part. There is a small decrease in the acreage component from $95.21 to $84.76. Go to the next slide, please. Here is the other three, the commercial blue, institutional brown, and then the industrial warehouse in black. The top one being industrial warehouse, you note a decrease. And the next slide will have all the changes. So let's read the impacts on the fire assessment. Residential is $105.63 per dwelling unit. Our acreage has a $10.45 decrease per acre. Our warehouse industrial has a $1.583 decrease per square feet building area. The next three are per square foot building area. Institutional has a 0.9606 increase, and commercial has a 22 cents 22.66 increase per square foot building area. Moving to the garbage, we have it permitted to be assessed per our Florida statute, must be established every year. Again, we have 11 homesteaded properties. If you choose to go with the 50% tax exemption, as we've done in the last 2 years, it's a $3,262 millage impact to the general fund. And again, we need a resolution tonight to comply with statutes and truth and millage requirements. Here you go, it's nice and clean. You look to the far right, there was a slight change as it relates to the individual solid waste versus bulk waste. But on the far right, there's no increase, decrease. Grand total rates are the same for the prior year. Next slide, please. Okay, here's our impact and the reason for the impact of the solid waste. We are proud to propose no changes in all residential categories. This goes back to our last year obtaining through successful management legal negotiation. We got a permanent bulk disposal maximum generation factor, therefore having no change. And what occurred is our annual collection element adjustments, which is the consumer price index, our fuel indices. We all know fuel rates are lower. Our CPI was slightly higher. They balanced each other out. So we were able to pose no increase next year, and it continues to reflect town council policy of full cost recovery with no rate subsidy. The interesting thing, moving on, which we presented last year for the first time, is the fact that now we're at the point where at 9 years, we've had less than 8% of an increase. So ultimately, you take 9 years with 8%, we're at less than 1% increase annually per year. That's something to be very proud of overall with the solid waste non-ad valorem component. Okay, it's our conclusion, final slide. We recommend tonight that you adopt unanimously the setting the rate max, which provide for decreasing our total operating millage, which results in a 5.46 lower than the rollback rate. The changes in fire assessment rates of property owners depending on category, and no changes in solid waste bulk and recycling rates. Okay, that is it. Now let's, if we could move into the fire assessment component discussion. If you all have a very extensive agenda package to review and discuss on, we don't have to read it right now, but I would like, Russell, do we need a motion on the floor to discuss all three? And then we need a second, please.
All right.
The items are already read into the record, so it's just a matter of taking motions.
Need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion for the first one for 9.
Well, we want to cover 10 and 11 first, please, Councilmember Jablonski, to cover the non-ad valorem first, because the decision on the non-ad valorem could impact number 9 as it relates to the millage. So 10 and 11, please.
Okay, I got a problem with number 11, so I'm not making any motions for that.
Okay.
I'll make the motion on the fire assessment to open it up for discussion. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second it. Discussion.
All right.
So, Marty, maybe you and Chris Wallace can explain how we ended up with a, in my view, significant increase on our fire assessment. I know we just went through a methodology. I've seen different numbers every time I've looked at this, and I'm trying to understand how it went from about a $40 increase that we talked about a couple of meetings ago to something that's significantly more. So maybe you can detail the cause of the increases and how they're reflected in the $106 you're talking about.
Okay, we will, and that's what we have. Chris Wallace on the line, please. I'm going to turn over the fire assessment component to Chris. Chris, are you there?
Well, Marty, just real quick though, there's two components here. There is the impact that Chris could probably discuss on the changes in the fire study. And then also there's increases, if I understand it properly, due to, basically budget requests, right?
Correct. There was a total change from year to year. The methodology was the major component. The total increase with the volunteers and the contractual cost increase represented about $250,000 with the shift.
And of that, about 70,000, based on the numbers you just went through, about 70,000 of that is for the volunteers, right? And the balance,
Correct.
the contractual increase?
Correct, exactly. That's how the breakout is. Yes.
So maybe Chris can then explain why the fire assessment study, the fire study this year, made a a big difference.
Hear me?
Yes.
I'm on video and I'm also on the phone, so I don't want to have a feedback. If someone could unmute me for the call-in number that I have, and then I'll eliminate the feedback that I'm hearing. I don't know if you guys are hearing it.
We're not.
Chris, what number is that? What are the last four numbers?
3023.
Okay.
All right, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, great. The feedback's gone on my end. Thank you, Russell. All right, so there were a number of things that were going on with the fire assessment. I think the primary thing people were focused on was the impact to barns and stables that had created a little bit of a problem in the current fiscal year. But we also changed the methodology, which was, we spent some time on it, but not nearly as much as the barns. There was also an error in an original roll because of the way we got information from the property appraiser's office. I'm not really blaming them, it's just that's the way it happened. There was one parcel that had been previously categorized. You'd have to understand how the property appraiser processes files. You have a basic roll, and then you have sometimes one or more override files. So you had this one parcel which was residential in nature, but was actually listed as ag, and on the base roll had an acreage amount. Now, when they do the acreage, they don't use decimal points in the rolls. That's just how they do the calculation. So when it was acreage, the unit count showed up in the roll as 243. But the override file, which overrides that data, reclassified that parcel to residential, which it was, and 1 unit picked up. So then we got the June roll, and we rushed around to try to get the city as much up-to-date information as we had. And in that same period, they had corrected the override file, but they left the unit count as 243 in the roll, and we didn't catch that error. So it picked up essentially 242 additional single-family units, which part of that was clouded for us by the barns that we were now picking up in the rolls. So bottom line, when we got the July roll, which was not that much longer after the June roll, we picked up the error because they didn't match. And in talking with the property appraiser's office, we resolved why that had happened, which is just what I said. There was a transient error in the roll that they had corrected that we didn't pick up, and the override file, it's just not there anymore because they had corrected it. So that's just how rolls sometimes work, and I apologize that at that point in time the rate would have been lower, but it doesn't change the methodology. And I think to address your specific concerns on the method, there's 2 basic components that I think you need to look at, and then an overarching ways and means issue. So the 2 basic components that have changed is within whatever budget you have for your fire, we look at the calls for service and apportion out the categories. Let's say if residential happens to be X percentage of the fire calls, then they're going to pick up X percentage of whatever the budget is from year to year. So that's one part of it. The other part is a change in how we look at what fire costs are versus what the previous method from the previous consultant used. We look at the staffing of the equipment and the primary purpose of the equipment and the historical reasons that or evolution of fire service in Broward County. And basically the manning that we feel is primarily fire related and is determining a 60-40 split more or less. That's not quite exactly right for some minutia, but that's almost flipped what it was in the previous study. So of the roughly $800,000 more being generated by this assessment, Marty noted how much is actually a result of increased costs in the fire budget, but the remaining cost of a little under $600,000 is actually the result of that changing allocation between fire and EMS services. Now, the town's practice is historically to collect 100% of the assessment. So when that methodology changed, you automatically shifted from property taxes over to the assessment, that roughly $800,000, $600,000, a little bit less, resulting from a change in the methodology. There's nothing magical about trying to collect 100%. It's just the ways and means of financing your city, and it does provide you property tax relief. But with assessments and property taxes, there's a balance of who pays. It's not, you're still going to pay whatever your fire budget is. So now the assessment, the way it's being presented, is going to, basically collect a bigger percentage of it. But that's at 100% of the cost of the assessment. Obviously, you can't go above 100%. But that's basically why the overall assessment dollars, roughly $800,000, is being generated. 200 and something from cost increases, and then the balance of that, a little under 600,000 for the reallocation of the cost between fire and EMS.
So Chris, then,
so I think that,
I'm sorry, I thought you were finished. Go on.
No, I was just going to say that basically it allows you to lower the property tax rate and increase the fire assessment rate. At the 100% level. So I'm done.
So what I think I heard is that we've had a change in our distribution based on really a change in call patterns over the years. I saw industrial went down and residential went up. So, and I know that you calculate the distribution based on the call volumes. Is that accurate?
Fire call volumes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Fire call volumes. This doesn't impact EMS or police, of course. And on top of that, we have an increase, of course, just due to the fact that, you know, the volunteers need certain things to continue operations, and contractually we have an increase. The part I'm not clear on is you were talking about moving money back and forth between ad valorem and the fire fees, or is it fire and EMS? I'm not clear there.
It's just, we're just talking about fire assessments, not
Right.
EMS. Essentially, your practice is to collect 100% of the fire cost, which is at the top end of the scale, and then everything else is paid for by general fund revenues, essentially property taxes, or however you want to look at it in that regard.
So in the past, we were not subsidizing with general revenue or ad valorem. We were continuing to pay it as the special assessment.
Well, yeah, and I would just add to that, because the methodology changed. I mean, if you had retroactively applied it, you probably would have been paying more. But that method we don't use, and I can go into the differences between what the previous consultant did 10 years ago and what you're doing now. You know, the service level also has changed during that period of time, but that's what's driving it. If you continue to collect at 100%, the assessment's going to go up and the property taxes are going to go down. But we don't make, as a company or as an individual, we don't really make recommendation on how much, you know, you should do one or the other. That's a local decision on how you finance your city.
Sure, sure. So Marty, it sounds to me like based on the reduction in ad valorem of $61 per $250,000, if you have a $500,000 home, this is a wash, because they'll save, what would that be, $122 versus the $106 increase on the fire side.
That is correct. You can apply it that way. Yes, sir.
Okay. So we council probably want to look to shave anything we can off these budgets to even make it a little sweeter for our residents. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Marty.
You know, obviously I'm not going anywhere if anyone else has questions, so thank you.
All right, are we going on, or do we need to go next?
Well, I made the motion, I think.
Together.
I made the motion and Gary seconded on the fire fees.
Anybody got their hand raised to talk about that one?
Are you opening up to public comment?
Yeah, need to.
One hand up. Two hands.
Okay.
Mr. Brightcruz, can you hear us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You have 2 minutes.
Great,
Yes.
thank you. Just a couple of things. First, congratulations, Emily. Didn't get a chance to do that earlier. And also, I have to respond, Mayor. My comments were that the residents were not heard. All their work was put in, and they were not given the chance to be heard. I've always supported the agriculture, and I think you know that. All right, so on this item, I think the big issue here that Chris mentioned, I've been going back and forth with emails trying to understand this for the best part of the last couple of days, is the change in methodology that before, under the prior study, it was based on effort, and which is basically the amount of resources that were spent on each of these different types of calls. Under this study, it's based on the breakdown of personnel. And so what that has done is it has shifted, as Chris mentioned, it has shifted the equation from 60% in ad valorem before under effort to now 60% under the fire fee and so that accounts for the huge increase. So I just want to be clear that that shift between that methodology is accounting for nearly $600,000 moving out of ad valorem taxes and moving into the fire assessment fee. The ad valorem taxes are tax deductibles, the fire assessment fee is not. However, we have always been, or at least in the last 10, 12 years, we have always strove to separate the two and have the fire fee fully fund all the fire costs for transparency reasons. And I still support that. But what I don't support is, I personally think effort is a better way to do the methodology, to be honest with you, rather than the personnel. I think it was the right way to do it back then. I think it's the right way to do it now. And I frankly think the methodology should stay 60-40 the other way, which would automatically transfer that nearly $600,000 back into ad valorem taxes out of the fire fee. It would be more accurate and based on effort, which I think is a better gauge for how to allocate costs. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, the next speaker, I believe, is Newell Hollingsworth.
Okay.
Mr. Hollingsworth, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you have 2 minutes, sir.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Okay. You hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. My question is on what the residential is going to be paying versus last year versus this year. And those that have farm, say a horse barn on their property or a chicken coop. And we've had this fight before where the house got one fire fee, the barn got one fire fee, the chicken coop got another fire fee, and you could end up with $2,000 or $3,000 worth of fire fees on one single family home. How is it going to be cut this year with this new study? Is it going to be a house fee, a barn fee, and chicken coop fee, or whatever fee? So need some explanation on that, because in the past it's only been the one fire fee for the single resident house. That's my question.
Thank you, Newell. Okay.
All right, if Chris could answer that, that'd be great. Chris is still muted.
Chris, can you hear us?
Chris Wallace, hello.
Marty, can you answer?
There you go. You just unmuted.
Yeah, my phone is muted, so I'm going to get feedback if I use the Zoom call in. So if Russell or someone could unmute me again, then that would be great.
What's your phone number? Last four digits.
It's the 3023, right?
Correct.
Correct.
You're there.
Thank you, Russell. So we'll start with the barns, because that was probably the big issue originally, and probably still. So specifically, here's how we resolved it with input from the committee, and after a lot of deliberation, really. If you have a house, keep in mind these assessments are done on a parcel level. So you've got a lot of not strange things. So you got a lot of variety in Southwest ranches. So I'm going to give you examples, and maybe that would help. If you have a house with a barn, you're only going to pay for the dwelling unit for the house. If you have a house with a granny flat that can be used as a residential unit, you're going to be paying for 2 dwelling units. If you have 2 parcels of land and you have a house on one and your barns on the other, as long as you keep those parcels separated, you're going to pay, the house fee on the one lot, and you're going to pay a similar or exact fee for the barn on the other lot. So in that instance, you could have two people. One has 1 parcel with a house and a barn, and the other has 2 parcels, one with a house and one with a barn. And in that second instance where you have someone with a house and someone with a barn, they're going to pay basically twice as much for that. And there's really no way around that except for the property owner can go and try and get a unity of title, and the property appraiser will eventually just have that as one unit for assessment purposes. But then you have a number of structures, stables or whatever throughout the city. No matter their size, they're going to pay the same fee as a single family or a dwelling unit, whatever that fee is from year to year. So basically, what we fell down on is the responses are similar, so the fee would be similar. You're not going to be getting thousands of dollars for any kind of farm or barn structure, stables or whatever. Now, if you have, and there are a couple of places like this, if you have a stable that also has a dwelling unit in it, a groom's quarters or whatever, they're going to pay just one fee for the dwelling unit, even though the stables may be attached or whatever. So hopefully it answers that question. Regarding Mr. Brightcruise's thing about the service efforts, the reason we don't like that is it's actually based upon a calculation that's a function of the number of calls times the average amount of time spent on those calls. And you have to keep in mind that, and don't take this the wrong way because a lot of times people do, but most of the time fire equipment and the personnel assigned to it are idle. They're not responding to fire calls. Now they're doing other things, and sometimes they act as backup for EMS units when they are otherwise engaged, or they get co-dispatched to use extrication equipment. But a lot of your calls for fire are infrequent, and so you have a large standby capacity. And if you look at an extreme example, and it doesn't work this way, but it illustrates the point of why we don't like that. Let's say you just had one call for service for a fire call for the whole year, and that happened, say, at a house. Well, all of a sudden that rate's going to be pretty high because you've allocated costs that were basically standby costs sometimes. That's probably a bad example off the top of my head. But the problem with the standby or the service effort is, to summarize it, is there's a lot of standby costs that benefit everybody, whether or not, and you've probably heard this over the years, particularly initially when you adopt these fire assessments, you'll have people come to the council meeting saying, I've lived here 30 years and I've never called the fire department. Well, that's true of most people, but what protects your property, what holds your fire insurance down is the availability of fire, because when you have a fire, you definitely want to have that service available. But most of the time, fire services are not being used, and that's why they've evolved into a fire EMS operation to try to take care of the cross training and things that go on. But that's just a philosophy. There's nothing wrong, or it's certainly permissible to use this a service effort calculation that has been done in the past. We're not fond of it for the reasons I discussed. And I've answered the barn question. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you don't like the fee, just throw it back on the property taxes, and you can balance off the two. You just have the capacity to charge more under the current method. It doesn't mean you have to charge more. That's up to the elected body.
All right. Anyone else?
I need to ask the question, do we want to talk about subsidizing the fire costs and put it back in ad valorem? Or do we want to just let it stand the way it is?
Mayor, if I can jump in.
Go ahead.
What we're asking you all to do tonight is not set the rates for the tax bills in the fall. We're asking you to set the ceiling for tonight. And I think the direction from council, which I can hear a lot of concern on this, is something that as staff, we need to try to take a look at and tweak, certainly between now and the budget workshop in August. But the numbers that we're asking you to set tonight represent the ceiling, not the floor. And so it does allow us an opportunity to try to continue to work and to tweak those numbers.
Nope. Okay. So what are you looking for other than setting the cap here?
The goal tonight would be to establish that. And I certainly hear council's concern over that number, but we'd ask you to go ahead and set that maximum rate and acknowledge the message that we've heard on your dissatisfaction with that number.
Well, I think if everybody realized and been through this process, except for Delsa, that the cap is what it is, but obviously you can't go over that, but you can absolutely reduce it and go lower. So this is not, I guess, putting it in stone, but this does create a problem of moving forward relating, pulling from reserves or whatever we might have to do. But all right. So
when
we,
when is our final for the fire? Is that the 14th or?
Yes, the
budget
final.
workshop in August, and then the first budget hearing on September 14th would set that rate.
Okay, so we've got some time to try to fix this.
That's my point. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm good with that.
all right. So where are we going? Anybody we got a motion and a second on this one.
I think
You
there's
wanna vote?
one more person with a hand up.
All right.
I see one more person. If
No, that was Newell from before.
I do have another question for Chris. I don't do my taxes, my tax guy does, and I didn't realize that there is a tax consequence by us charging it as a fee versus if it was part of ad valorem. What do most cities do? I realize transparency is important, but what do most cities do? I mean, I wouldn't mind the tax break myself, right?
Well, okay, so this isn't a function of what any particular city does. It's a function of federal tax law. So generally speaking, for most people, your property taxes are deductible. Now that used to be a bigger deal than it currently is because they changed the tax law. But if you itemize and you can deduct your taxes, you're not supposed to deduct the special assessments because special assessments have a benefit to them. So the tax law looks at it like, well, you're not really being taxed because you got a specific benefit to your property back by having that levy. That's part of what makes it a special assessment. So the non-ad valorem special assessments or even special assessments that aren't on your tax bill generally are not deductible by individuals. They are deductible as a business expense by businesses. Now, having said that, I would tell you that I think the practice is for most people, they just take their property tax bill and deduct the whole thing, assessments and all. But that's technically not allowed for most people. And it's not as big of an issue as it used to be since they changed the tax laws and raised the standard deduction. I think you find a lot of people not itemizing anymore. But and of course, the state and local tax deduction is limited to, what is $10,000 now. So large tax bills after that level don't really make any difference anyway. You're not going to be able to deduct them. So, but that is the case. They've never been assessed, non-ad valorem or any type of special assessments, never been deductible for individuals. There might be a certain case to be made for a home office or an office working out of your property, but as a general proposition, no, it's not deductible.
Thank you.
Well, I guess at this point, we need to approve this with, the understanding that Marty and Andy are going to be looking at, and Russell are going to be looking at this really hard and come back with a solution or a better number.
I have a question, if I may.
Go ahead, Doug.
Are we talking about lowering it wherever you want to lower it? I mean, you're either going to pay it in your property tax bill or you're going to pay it as an assessment. But are we talking about when we lower it, stealing from reserves?
No. Well,
I mean, because that's how I look at it. So
it depends how you take it. It's based on where we set the millage rate.
Exactly. Yeah.
Marty, maybe you can
Yeah,
answer.
yes, that's a good point. There are multiple areas and methods. We could approach and modify the budget as proposed, which Andy mentioned, scrutinized during the workshop. prior to our final hearing. There's availability of fund balance within the general fund. That's two mechanisms. And that'll be something I'll breach and make you all aware when we set the millage rate, because remember, we're doing the maximum. So even though we propose at 4.2125, if we lock ourselves into that rate versus, let's say, going slightly higher to the rollback rate, then we'll potentially have to impact our next year's budget if we do not want to hit our fund balance and reserve. So I hope I answered that.
All right. So let me jump in and add something here. So, not on purpose, but the committee technically really screwed us, whether knowingly or not. We're in a bad situation since the committee didn't ask the question before approving this, what we approved. So we went off recommendation from the committee based on doing this. But anyhow, we're where we are, and that's a problem.
You're blaming the committee?
It's the committee that kind of didn't ask a couple of questions here, apparently.
I asked my questions at those meetings.
Okay, well, one of them wasn't this, right?
Well, I don't know if the committee messed so much as the method changed, and we're looking at the consequences of that change.
Well, it's a different methodology too, I guess. So.
Yeah, I think that
it either goes one place or the other. I mean, it either, I don't know. That never mind.
No, I understand that, and I'm looking at there's a decrease in what maybe Lowe's or Publix may pay per square foot or something, and the increase going to the homeowners. So,
well, yeah. Well, there was
the total cost is the total cost. I mean, there's no getting around.
Yeah, listen, it's a bad problem that's been created, and we got to deal with it.
Yeah, so I think we need to approve this tonight and let the team work on figuring out a way out.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I don't mind approving it.
This is not the final. This is not the final.
This is not the final. Yeah.
Right.
That's
so
fine.
We need to make that real clear. This is not the final vote.
Right.
All right. We're going to be here all night if we don't get moving.
Well, move.
Call the question.
Call the question, somebody.
Yeah, we got a motion in a second, so call the question.
Councilmember Amundson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder? Vice Mayor Schroeder?
Put a thumb up.
You. There you go.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Mayor McKay?
Yes.
Okay.
Reluctantly.
Our assessment passes 5-0.
Well said. So now what we need to make a motion for 9 and 10.
Yeah, let's move to 11, which is our solid waste, non-ad valorem, which we recommended.
11, Marty, 11 was the fire assessment.
5%, I think that's good
So
enough.
10 is the solid waste.
Yes, okay, you guys are correct, sorry, 10. Chris, please stay on the line until we get done with all three. I appreciate it. Let's move to the solid waste. I need a motion on the floor.
So moved, Russell.
Okay.
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 And we got a second. Okay. Mayor,
All right. Yep.
I see a hand up. I don't know if you want to call in the public for this particular item, or if you feel that that's passed, that's up to you.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay. Let's see. Fred Cox is there. Mr. Cox?
Hit the right button.
I think the hand came up on the fire fee after public comment.
Yeah, we're not going back on that right now. So
Correct. I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so no other speakers.
All right, got a motion in a second?
Yes, we do.
Okay, call the question.
Councilmember Amundson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder?
Yes.
Mayor McKay?
Yes.
That item passes 5-0. The last item is the millage rate, item 9.
Oh, we just did that.
So we did
We
10.
did.
We did
Oh,
10.
I thought we did. I thought we did both of them. All right.
Okay, number 9.
All right. I make a motion to approve number 9.
Second.
Okay. Anybody got their hand raised?
No, Mayor.
All right.
All
You
right,
just had a hand pop up.
just shut up, just now.
All right. Go ahead.
Mr. Brightcrus?
Yep, thank you. Just 2 questions. I understand that MAP money coming across, that's awesome, fantastic for the TISDOR issue. Is there an amount on that? I never heard an amount mentioned, and I didn't see an amount in the documentation. Just would like to know what that amount is, and then also just that we can consider that the fire fee may have to come across again on this when you vote on the millage. Just to remember that. Thank you. Just like.
Okay, I can answer that if you'd like, Mayor.
Go right ahead.
Okay, Rod, Emily was successful to get nearly $2 million for TISR project and drainage project in total. I don't have the individual breakdowns, but it's not a part of our budget process. We're going to be bringing that back to council once we get assurances as to project scope, amounts. That will be a part of the 2021 approval process that comes back to council. So there's no need to fund it presently.
Okay. Marty, I have a question. Didn't we just approve this like 1 or 2 meetings ago, that the request for all that? Am I thinking of something else here?
Yes, that was approval to authorize. Andy, you may want to cut in.
All right, I just want to make sure, this was a previously discussed item. That's fine.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. It was, but the MAP committee required your approval to the project for submission for further development and approval. So it'll be coming back to you during fiscal year 2021 for further approval.
Very good.
Okay. Got a motion in a second or no?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Anybody have their hand raised?
No, Mayor, we're good.
Okay, call the question.
Now, Mayor, before we call the question, if Russell could please put up the PowerPoint where it shows the millage comparison, the max millage comparisons, which is important because although we're recommending the 4.2125, I think it's maybe 9. If you go there, go backwards. If we go with the lower rate, which we're recommending, I think it's forward. Right there. What happens is we've already reduced 659, 676. If we go that route and set the rates and cannot go higher, then our only recourse as it relates to potentially reducing our fire assessment moving forward is only one of 2 ways. One is hitting fund balance reserves, or number 2 is lowering our next year's program mods, our capital projects, or any other operating item within next year's budget. So my only thing I want to make you aware is you may want to consider a 4.4558 rate at a preliminary rate, which will free up the difference, which is about 300,000. It's 659 minus 298 is 361,000 that can be applied towards the fire assessment next year. But that's a policy decision on your behalf. And I just want to give you options and what you're doing tonight. If you go with the 4.2125, and I'll leave it open for any questions you may have.
This is what the concern was.
Well, I'll jump in here. I don't know if we really have a choice on the 4.2125. There's a lot of, with the pandemic, there's a lot of hardships out there right now. And I'm not exactly sure. I don't think raising the millage is going to be a benefit at this point. Is this our final, or we just have to go in with our highest one right now?
This establishes the ceiling.
Okay.
You see, so if you were to follow Marty's recommendation and bump it up to the rollback rate, what he's suggesting is it gives us more opportunity to work within the parameters of millage and the fire assessment fee.
Well, the fire fee is directly linked to this now. If the millage is to remain low, the fire fee has to be paid by the fire assessment.
It has to come from one pocket or the other. The advantage potentially, and this is a policy decision, is, as I think some of you have said, your ad valorem taxes, you may have the opportunity to have tax benefits there that you may not have on the assessment. But other than that, it's the same dollars. Then it comes down to which pocket.
Hey, Doug, I don't know if I'd link them yet. I mean, let's see what they come back with. We haven't had any budget discussions yet on the numbers.
I understand what you're saying, but ultimately, just based on what's already happened, it's going to happen in some fashion. But yeah.
Marty's suggestion is just to allow some room to work prior to the budget workshop.
Some breathing room.
Discussing it further, yes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think we ought to give ourselves or them the ability to work within those parameters, because I think it's crazy just to say, okay, the lowest amount and that's it. Then I don't know. I just would rather have some breathing room, I think.
So, Marty, what are you recommending?
Well, if you could hear, okay. The 4.558, if you should go that route, it will free up another 361,000 for utilization with any other projects, assignment towards the fire assessment, if you should choose. I will need to, if you do decide on that rate, I will need to go on the record and give you the percentage. Change to the rollback rate would be 0 as required, and 4.458 is already in the resolution as prepared. I'll defer to legal if they require anything else, because what's potentially on the table now is consideration at the rollback rate of what's required for our millage and trim requirements. So
Keith, I was going to reach out to Keith, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, I think, Mayor, you all have to decide which route you're going, and then we can answer that question. I think Marty on the left delineates based on the millage rate what sort of vote would be required. But this sets the max that you would be able to work within, and thereafter you could always reduce. But it's up to the council to make a decision, and then we can make sure that we can legally substantiate it.
Well,
if I could jump in there?
Go ahead, Keith.
Okay, I don't think I would want to see the millage rate any higher, and by keeping the fire fees as the committee already has it, it keeps our taxes lower. So
I don't think I want to go with raising the millage either.
No.
Yeah, so Marty, then if we go with 4.455, it's flat year over year. If we can make the 4.2125, that would be a bonus.
correct.
Okay.
And basically, it would be a shift in council policy. If you go with the 4.455A, what you're saying is you're moving away from 100% full cost recovery with the fire assessment fee. That's something to be aware of. If you stick with the 4.2125, it will maintain town council policy at 100% fire assessment fee. Subject to further workshop, scrutiny, budget scrutiny of what's available. And we would like the opportunity to probably provide you with alternative suggestion, but what you would be requesting from us from the workshop is basically finding available funding to subsidize the fire assessment fee when we get to the September 14th hearing.
So I'll throw down that challenge now and make a motion to adopt the 4.558 tax increase.
You can't do that.
How do I do it then?
We already have a motion on the floor and a second for the 421.
I'm sorry.
I have to withdraw that.
Got it. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I'll withdraw it.
Yeah.
No. Oh,
All right, then I'll make
I'd like
the motion.
That motion stay at 4.215 though.
Well, he withdrew it, so somebody has to make a new one.
Wait, 1 second. There was a motion and a second. Who made the second on the motion?
Councilmember Amundson.
So it would be up to Councilmember Amundson if they want to withdraw their second. If not, she can keep the motion.
Okay.
Okay, I seconded what?
4.215.
Motion to set the millage at 4.2125.
Okay, because I thought I said that I would rather have something to work with than nothing to work with, which would be the 4.5458.
So just withdraw your second and we can go that route.
Withdraw the second.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to support a higher rate, but that's.
Can we make another motion?
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, I'll make it again. I'll make the motion that we adopt the 4.4558.
Second.
I'm saying, can we make another motion? Because I would like to make a motion for the
Well, you got-
4.215.
Well, you got a motion and a second already on the floor now.
Yeah, because it's giving them a chance to work within the numbers. It may end up at the 42125.
You may not.
Yeah, but if you stay there,
Well, I
they
know,
have to
but-
make it.
It's going to keep the taxes lower.
Right. We'll end up somewhere between the 4.45.
It's going to be
and
somewhere
4.21.
anyway. You know.
Yeah.
I have confidence in our town administration savvy here. And also, we haven't reviewed the budget yet to knock anything down. So
Right. Agree.
I'm comfortable with the 4.45.
Thank you.
Call the question, I'm not, but okay.
Are you ready for me to call the question, Mayor? Is that what I heard?
Please.
Okay. Councilmember Amundson,
Yes?
Councilmember Hartman,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
No.
Mayor McKay.
No.
Motion passes 3-2.
Okay, thank you. That takes care of all three items. We'll revise the resolution to reflect the 4.558, which equals the rollback rate. And I would like to thank the committee, the Fire Assessment Review Committee, for all their work and efforts through this pandemic has been fantastic. And is it okay, or do I have time to read the names of all the people?
Please do. They put a lot of time in.
Okay, it is Mr. Steve Brightcruz. We've had Mr. Fred Cox. I have the, hold the names.
Marty, I'm going to do it from memory.
Yeah. Commissioner Laurie Parrish, James Starkweather.
Right, we have Michael Fisicelli, Jennifer Dockman, correct, John Eastman. I had it marked, I'm sorry, Wait, John Eastman, I think, did we get them all?
Jen,
Yeah, Jennifer Docton.
And was
James Albarton.
I lost my place.
I think we
apologize.
got them all.
that's it, Marty.
I think they all know that we support them and thank them for their efforts.
Yes, thank
Okay.
you very much. And we'll move forward, and remember, we have the workshop on the August 14th. So
Mayor?
it's
Yeah.
Tuesday, August 18th. Tuesday, August 18th is our workshop, and we'll be in discussion with you throughout that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marty. Yeah, Mayor, item 12 is a resolution with Broward County approving an interlocal agreement. The county has not completed their work on that. We're not in receipt of that yet. So staff would like to withdraw this item and bring it back when the cake is fully baked.
I would. Motion to withdraw.
Second.
Okay. Call the question.
Yes, Councilmember Amundson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes.
Item to withdraw.
Okay. Approval of minutes, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Any corrections, modifications?
Good job, Russell. None.
Seeing none. Awesome. Okay. Call the question.
Councilmember Amundson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hartman,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schroeder,
Yes.
and Mayor McKay.
Yes.
Okay, item passed.
Awesome. Anybody have any last comments before we say goodbye and great seeing everybody?
I need more Tylenol.
Keith, I hope you get some snow.
On a couple of weeks. Be safe if there's a storm.
Just snowboard, right?
Yep.
We'll keep you all
Thank
posted
you.
tomorrow on the storm if there's any news you need to have.
Okay.
Nah.
All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Night,
Good night.
everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.